That document was my son's attempt to take my house, the house I bought with my own money, the house I painted with my own hands, the house where I raised him. He thought he was clever. He forgot who taught him everything he knows. Today, I'm going to tell you exactly what my son did, exactly how far he got, and exactly what happened the night I stood up at his engagement party and told the truth, in front of everyone. Stay with me, because this story does not end the way he planned. I need you to understand something about me before I tell you this story. I am not a victim. I have never been a victim. I grew up in a household where crying got you nowhere, where you either figured it out or you went without. I watched my mother work herself to the bone for a family that never once said thank you. I promised myself I would be different. So at 24, single, broke, working 2 jobs, I started saving. Every extra dollar, every bonus, every tax return. At 34, I bought my house, a 3-bedroom house on a quiet street, nothing fancy, but mine. I remember the day I got the keys. I sat in the empty living room on the floor, no furniture yet, and I just cried. Happy tears. The kind you cry when you finally made it somewhere you weren't sure you'd reach. And sitting right next to me on that floor was my son, Darius. He was 9 years old, and he looked at me crying and said, "Mama, why are you sad?" And I said, "Baby, I'm not sad. I'm just so happy I don't know what else to do with it." He hugged me so tight that day. That was 20 years ago. The man that little boy grew into, I don't fully recognize him. And what he tried to do to the house we sat in together that day, I will never forgive. Not fully. Not ever. In about 8 minutes, I'm going to tell you exactly how he tried to do it, and the method he used. I need you to be prepared, because it is more calculated than anything you are imagining right now. Darius called me on a Sunday. He said he wanted to come home for a while. Him and his girlfriend, I'll call her Tanya, were looking to save money before their wedding. Could they stay with me for a few months? I said yes. Of course I said yes. He was my son. They moved in on a Friday evening, 2 cars full of boxes. Tanya seemed nice enough, quiet, polite, said all the right things. The first few weeks were fine, good even. It felt like having my house full again. Then small things started happening. Darius started asking questions about the house, when I'd bought it, what I'd paid, whether I had a mortgage still or owned it outright. I told him everything, proudly. He started suggesting I get my paperwork in order, said he knew a property lawyer who could help me update my will, make sure everything was properly documented. I thought he was being responsible, thoughtful even. Then I started noticing mail I didn't recognize, envelopes with legal firm names I'd never heard of, always addressed to Darius, always quickly taken before I could look closely. I asked him once, casual, not accusatory, "What's all the legal mail about?" He smiled and said, "Just wedding stuff, Mama, don't worry about it." I worried about it. One afternoon, while Darius and Tanya were out, I'm not proud of this, but I need to be honest, I opened one of those envelopes. Inside was a document, a property transfer document with my address on it, and my son's name listed as the incoming owner, with a signature line, for me, blank, waiting. My son had been talking to a lawyer about how to transfer my house into his name while living under my roof, while eating my food, while calling me Mama. But here's what I didn't know yet, and this is the part that made my blood run cold when I found out. Tanya wasn't just his girlfriend in all of this. She was involved too. I'll tell you exactly how in just a few minutes. I put the document back in the envelope. I put the envelope back exactly where I found it. And then I sat at my kitchen table and I thought very carefully about what to do next. I did not confront him, not yet. Instead, I called my own lawyer. I described what I had found. She went very quiet on the phone. Then she said, "I need you to listen to me carefully. Do not sign anything. Do not let anyone into your home with documents, and get me copies of everything you can find." Over the next 2 weeks, carefully, quietly, I found more. A second document, a power of attorney form, already partially filled out, in my name, forged. Emails printed out and folded in a shoebox in Darius's closet, between him and Tanya, planning the timeline, when to get me to sign, how to make it seem routine. And a text thread screenshotted and left in that same shoebox between Darius and someone I'll call R. I don't know who this person is to this day, where Darius wrote, "Once the transfer goes through, she can stay in the house as a tenant. She won't make a scene, she doesn't like conflict." A tenant? In my own house. He was going to let me stay, as a tenant, in the house I bought, in the house we sat on the floor of together when he was 9 years old. And Tanya had been the one to find the lawyer. She had been the one to research the process. She had been the one to draft the timeline in those emails. My son didn't come up with this plan. She did. And he went along with every single step. Now, stay with me, because what I did next, most people told me was crazy. My own lawyer told me it was risky, but I knew exactly what I was doing. And the look on his face when it happened, I will never forget it for the rest of my life. I want to be honest with you about the weeks that followed, because it wasn't all strength and strategy. There were nights that were very, very dark. I remember one night, it was about 11 p.m., I was sitting in my car outside my own house. Darius and Tanya were inside, lights on, laughing at something on TV. And I sat in that car and I thought, what if I just leave? What if I just let them have it and start over somewhere else? I sat with that thought for a long time. Because here's what nobody tells you about betrayal from your own child. It doesn't just hurt your heart, it makes you question your entire life. Every decision, every sacrifice, every moment you chose them over yourself. You start wondering, was any of it real? Did he ever actually love me? Or was I just useful? I cried in that car for a long time, and then I thought about my mother. I thought about her hands, always rough, always working. I thought about how she never once complained, how she carried things that would have destroyed most people, and just kept going. And I thought, she didn't raise me to sit in a car and give up. She raised me to walk back in that house and handle it. So that's what I did. I wiped my face, I got out of the car, and I walked back into my house, and I started planning. Here is what I knew. A public confrontation done wrong would make me look unstable, emotional, easy to dismiss. A private confrontation would give him time to deny, deflect, and destroy evidence. I needed something else entirely. I needed a moment where the truth was undeniable, in front of people who mattered. Darius and Tanya's engagement party was scheduled for 3 weeks away. His aunties, his cousins, his grandmother, my mother, family friends, people who had known him since he was in diapers, people who would remember what happened there for the rest of their lives. I RSVP'd yes. In those 3 weeks, I worked with my lawyer to get everything locked down. The house was legally secured. No transfer could happen without my explicit, verified consent. I gathered every document, every email screenshot, every piece of evidence, had it all professionally organized into folders, made copies. 3 sets. I gave 1 set to my lawyer. I gave 1 set to my most trusted friend, I'll call her Paulette, and I kept 1 set for myself. I also did something that Darius didn't know about. I called his grandmother, my mother, and I told her everything. She was silent for a very long time, and then she said, "Baby, you do what you need to do. I'll be there." 3 weeks later, I got dressed, all black, hair done, heels. I walked into that party looking like the woman who had already won, because I had. What happened in that room, I have replayed it in my head 1,000 times. Stay with me, we are almost there. The party was at a restaurant Tanya's family had booked. About 40 people. Round tables, fairy lights, a little slideshow of Darius and Tanya playing on a screen in the corner. I arrived exactly on time. I hugged people, smiled, ate appetizers. Darius looked surprised to see me looking so calm. I could see it in his eyes. He'd expected me to be crumbling by now. Not quite. About an hour in, when the room was full, when everyone had wine in their hand, when the mood was warm and celebratory, Tanya's father stood up to give a toast. When he finished and the room settled, I stood up. Darius looked at me. I could see the confusion, then the flicker of something else. Fear. I said, "I hope you'll all forgive me. I also have something I'd like to say tonight." The room smiled. They thought it was a mother's toast. I reached into my bag and I placed a folder on the table. I said, "Most of you know me. You've known me for years. You know I built a life by myself from nothing. You know I bought my house alone. You know I raised my son alone. What you don't know is that for the past several weeks, my son and his fiancée have been working with a lawyer to transfer my house into Darius's name without my knowledge or consent, using a forged power of attorney." The room went completely silent. I heard someone put down their glass. I kept going. "I have the documents here. I have the emails here. I have the forged signature here. My lawyer has already secured my property and filed the appropriate reports." I looked directly at Darius. He had gone completely white. Tanya had her hand over her mouth. I said quietly, just to him, but in a room silent enough that everyone heard, "I taught you everything you know, baby, but I didn't teach you everything I know." His grandmother, my mother, stood up from her chair. She walked across that room, and she stood next to me. That was all she did. She didn't say a word. She just stood next to me. And that meant more to me than anything else that happened that night. I won't pretend the night ended neatly. There was chaos after I sat down. Tanya's mother was crying. People were talking over each other. Someone asked me to leave. I don't even remember who. I left, calmly, with my folder under my arm. Paulette was waiting outside in her car. We drove away, and I didn't cry until I got home. The legal situation resolved within 2 months. My lawyer had everything documented. The forged power of attorney was reported. Tanya's lawyer quietly advised them both to drop everything immediately, which they did. My house is mine, fully, legally, undeniably. As for Darius, the engagement was called off. I found that out through my mother. We have not spoken since that night. I don't know if we ever will. I want to be real with you about something, because I think people expect these stories to end with the person healed and at peace and full of forgiveness. I'm not there yet. Maybe one day. But right now, what I feel most is clarity. I know who I am. I know what I built. I know what I'm worth. And I know, without any doubt, that no one, not a stranger, not an enemy, not even my own son, gets to take that from me. If you are still watching, thank you. I know that was heavy. I know some of you are sitting there right now, seeing someone in your own life in this story. Maybe it's not a son, maybe it's a daughter, a sibling, a partner, someone who got close enough to learn your vulnerabilities and then used them. I need you to hear this. The fact that they tried to take from you means you had something worth taking. Never forget that. You are not weak because they got close. You are not stupid because you trusted them. You are human. and they took advantage of that. Here's what I want you to walk away with today. Document everything. The moment something feels wrong, write it down. Screenshots, dates, witnesses. Evidence is your armor. Get your own people, a lawyer, a Paulette, someone in your corner who is only for you. Do not react publicly until you are ready. Let them think they're winning. Preparation beats emotion every single time. And when you make your move, make it count. Because the best revenge isn't loud, it's undeniable. My son tried to take everything I built. He forgot one thing. I'm the one who taught him how to be bold. He just didn't learn the rest of the lesson. The lesson is this: when you come for a woman who built herself from nothing, you better not miss. Thank you for being here today. This one took a lot out of me to share. If this story moved you, drop a fire emoji in the comments. Let me know you were here. And if you know a woman right now who is going through something like this, who feels alone in it, please share this video with her. You might not realize it, but you could be exactly what she needed today. Subscribe to Stories She Carried for more real stories from real women who refused to stay down. I'm not done telling them. I'll see you in the next one.